we've seen recently, like I had mentioned before, this trend in right-to-work states. More that legislation's being passed, more of it's being discussed. What I want to ask here, and this is once again probably more for Rick and Ray, do the unions really shy away from right-to-work states? Or, we touched on that psychology of the worker before, maybe taking some of the weight off of that decision. Do the unions still target those right-to-work states because of that perceived psychological change?
One of the first things that management would do when they start talking to workers would talk to them about union dues is one of the things, because once again it's when there's an organizing campaign, nobody's reinventing the wheel, either the union or management, and one of the legitimate discussions that we have with workers in a so-called closed shop state is as far as what is their financial obligation to the union, and not just financial. Is signing a piece of paper. There's some unions that have you have to say a pledge to them, and different locals in different regions are different, but in some way, shape, or form, you have to obligate yourself to the union in a closed shop state, and that's one of the conversations that we have with workers. And when I was an organizing director, many times we went into right-to-work states, and it actually, in a way, on the organizing level, it was much easier to organize, even if the successes may not be as great because you have other political things. But it by far it doesn't distract unions from organizing, because all we could say is that, listen, you have the final word on saying whether we're doing a good job or not. We have to do a good job for you, because if not, you're going to choose not to pay dues. So if we're not doing a good job for you, or if you don't feel that our organization, the union, whatever union it is really complementing your unit, or if you don't feel that you are the driving force behind the unit itself or the local, then you can choose to walk away. So we, as an organization, as an institution, have to make sure that we bring you above and make sure that you are the voice within that facility, because if not, then you're just going to make the choice not to pay dues. So if we along with you do a great job for you and help you advance, then you're going to continue to exist because you're going to continue to pay dues. If not, then you're gonna vote with your wallet that we're not doing good. In many ways, it's easier.
Yeah, I don't think really that it unions shy away from right to work states. I think that, as we all know, they are a business, and in the grand scheme of things, they take an approach of some is better than none. So, and I think unions are focusing in on industries and employers that allow them the opportunity to get in and organize their employees. And that doesn't matter whether you're in a closed shop state or whether you're in a right-to-work state. So I really don't think it acts as a deterrent. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, I think in right-to-work states you have to be even more vigilant. And taking actually Florida as an example, which has been a right-to-work state for some time now, almost every public sector entity in the state is organized. And in the private sector, in recent years, we've seen an uptick in the healthcare industry. Where Susanna comes from out west, well, here in Florida, we've seen a lot of activity with the CNA and SEIU organizing nurses. So I would say that it's not a deterrent at all.
No, in fact, you talk about, Ray, you're talking about unions like the CNA, the California Nurses Association, which Suzanne has a lot of experience with. In fact, I was one of the people who was instrumental putting together a organizing agreement or a merge together between what was the United Steelworkers and the California Nurses Association back years ago. And one of the goals was to actually, to cover everything in California, as Suzanne can tell you better than anybody, that how aggressive they have been in California. But to take that horse and pony show on the road. And some of the states that when we were putting together that merge, between the steelworkers and the California Nurses Association, one of the things that we were discussing as far as strategy, long-term strategy, was to actually go after many of those right-to-work states or those non-traditional organizing, heavy organizing states. We were attracted by that, and we wanted to take that merge and really attack those. In many of the states were right-to-work states, because we knew that it wasn't going to affect in a large scale our organizing numbers or the dues that we bring in, because everything's about the numbers as far as how much money that you're collecting when you're organizing versus how much money you spend for the organizing campaign. Because it's Ray's right, it's a business. You know, he's 100% right on. It's a business, and they look at how much money do we expend versus how much money do we get back in in exchange for that investment. And that's all it is an investment. But once again, those right-to-work states, being a right-to-work state or a closed-shop state, had no deterrent on our organizing strategy nationwide.
And can I say something about the one thing that really irritated me was the CNA, which is now, it changes its name periodically. It became real clear to me that they were using the dues of the California nurses to go try to get other states. It wasn't like they were using California nurses dues to help them in California that much. And, they are a business. They're a big business. And the person who was doing all the speaking about nursing isn't even a nurse. And when I brought that to the attention of a news person that was interviewing me, he was dumbfounded. He thought that this person that was doing all this talk about what nurses need was a nurse. And when I explained to him that at that time there were 300,000 registered nurses in the state of California, and only, let's say, 73,000 of those would belong to the CNA, he was like dumbfounded. He said, well, why haven't you told us that? And I said, well, nobody asked me. You're too busy writing things as if every nurse in California is a member of this organization, and they're not. So they have a big budget. They have the ability to get the press, get their word out, and they make it seem as if they are even bigger than they are. And so I think it's important for people who are not members of that and who do believe in nursing and want to stand up for nursing need to be able to do that too.
And I think that point's especially poignant in the healthcare field that you work in, Suzanne. You have to ask yourself when you're considering joining a union, and especially like a nurses union, any kind of service union there, how does it benefit my client? How does it benefit the patients? And, from what you're saying, it sounds like the union's spending money on advertising, and other states spending money trying to improve their public profile. And you have to ask yourself, how is that improving patient care? And how is that improving, nurse compensation?
Right.
So I think we touched...
Once the dues go into the union's possession, it's essentially their money, and they're going to spend it in a manner in which is going to likely bring them more money. and when I say them, I mean the union themselves and the people that run the union.
Yeah, Ray. Yeah. You're right on, Ray. When I was on the other side and working for with big labor, it's all about what's good for the institution. And the institution meaning the international. It's not what's good for the local, because you know, Ray, as well as I do, is that a lot of the money, or a good percentage of the money, goes to the international, and they spend it any way that they want. And they're looking at, as you said, well, how are we going to make more money? And so taking that money and not using it towards the local person who's a union member at a whether it be a small or large local, how's it going to benefit them? That doesn't even come into play. It's about what's going to advance us as an institution, and money drives that. It's what is, when I was on the other side, what do I have to do to advance me, not only because of the institution that I belong to, but personally, how is this going to advance me within this institution? So there's a lot of egos, there's a lot of things that drive union strategy. And I tell you what, there's so many things that you pick up a newspaper, you listen to the radio or to the TV, and there's so many things that unions are doing, and you're saying, well, how and all the money comes from members, the local members who doesn't really have an understanding, a lot of them, exactly where the dues money goes, and how is this benefiting, as Suzanne said, how is this benefiting that local person? Because such a small portion of that money that they're paying in their dues, and this is hardship dues money. I mean, they're paying a good percentage of money, these union members. How does that actually advancing the union member, right, Suzanne?
Yes, and I just when I saw their budget one day, that's what really amazed me. I mean, I said to myself, I'm certainly not giving any of my money for this. So I just think people don't. Another thing, nurses are too busy at the bedside working. They don't understand all those things. They don't get a chance to see that. They don't really understand it. And then they believe the person who's just bullying them into thinking that this is what they need. So I think for people listening to this that are in HR or that are managers, one thing I wanted to point out, I think because I have been a nurse for so long, I think a lot of mistakes that people make, let's say they have a manager who's been there for 20, 30 years, and they're still using I call it the Marie Antoinette style of management, talk with your head, let them eat cake, this is policy, so what? You can't, with today's nurse, you can't do that. Well, you shouldn't do that anyway, but I think there's a whole new breed of thinking, there's a whole new breed of nursing out there. People are, it's easy for them to just quit and go someplace else. And I think if you're not listening to what they're saying, then you're just not being very smart. Because if you just listen and you give them a chance to participate and have a voice, then you shouldn't need a union. You should all be doing this together.
Absolutely. And Ray, you as an attorney, you when you're talking to your clients, you look at the same thing I look at. You're looking at the financial reports of these unions, and you see the absurd way that they spend the dues money, the members' money. Sometimes you have to close the sheet and because it's almost unbelievable at times.
Yeah, I handled a campaign last year in a small municipality here in Florida for some law enforcement folks representing the city in a union drive. And, when I provided those figures to the employees that were going to be voting for or against the union, to educate them in terms of where their money was going to be going, and they saw some of the salary that the members of the police union, the particular police union at issue, were making, it shocked the conscience. I mean, that was one of the biggest impacts we had in that campaign, and we were successful in prevailing and keeping the union out, and that was one of the primary reasons, because they realized, where's my money going? It's certainly not going to be here. And it has a huge impact. And to circle back to what you were saying, Suzanne, listening, absolutely right. Because if HR folks and managers are not listening to what their employees are saying, whether it's good, bad, or middle of the road, then that opens them up to go take those concerns to a third party, and that third party, more likely than not, is going to wind up being the union.
Right.
Sure.
Yep.